Welcome to the React Linear Gauge Customization tutorial. In this video, I will show you how to customize the axes and add multiple axes, labels, and ranges to the Syncfusion React Linear Gauge. First, I open an existing React application where I already have a linear gauge component. To learn how to get started with this component, refer to the video link in the YouTube card above. I will run this application using the npm start command to show the initial demo. See, the linear gauge is rendered. By default, the linear gauge renders vertically. To display in a horizontal direction, I set the orientation property to horizontal in the linear gauge component tag. See now, the linear gauge renders horizontally. Now I will show you how to add and customize an axis. I add the axis directive tag, which can contain n number of axis directive definitions. I am going to use a single axis, and so I add the single axis directive tag. I am going to change the height, width, and color of the axis. To do that, I set the line property in the axis directive tag. Within it, I set the height to 400, width to 4. And specify the color using the color property. See here, the height, width, and color of the axis line have changed. Next, I will demonstrate how to customize ticks. To customize the major ticks, I add the major ticks property and specify its color as green. To have intervals between major ticks, I set the interval property to 10. Similarly, I customize the minor ticks. You can see the customization done to the ticks. By default, ticks are positioned inside the axis. You can also position them outside or crossing the axis. To demonstrate, I set the position property to cross for the major and minor ticks. Checking now, major and minor ticks are displayed across the axis. By default, the starting value 0 is shown from the left, but you can show it from the right by inverting the axis. To do that, I set the is-inverse property to true in the axis directive tag. See, the axis is inversed. Next, let me show you how to customize the labels. To change the font color of the labels, I set the label style property, and within it, I specify the font color. By default, the label position is auto. I set the position property to outside. I change the offset, which defines the distance between the labels and ticks, from 0 to 10. See now, the label color has changed, and they are displayed outside the axis. To change the format of the label, we can use the format property. You can use it to display numeric formats, such as currency or percentage. I set the format property to p in the linear gauge component tag to use the percentage format. You can see the labels are rendered with percentage symbol. You can also display a custom format using the label style property. To do that, I set the appropriate custom format to the format property within the label style property. I remove the format property from the linear gauge component tag. Here, the value represents the data label. And now the labels are formatted. Next, let me show you how to add multiple axes. To make this part clearer, I'll set the label style position property to inside and remove the format property. Then I add one more axis directive tag with the line, major, and minor ticks properties. To display this axis in the opposite direction, I set the opposed position property to true. See now, the linear gauge renders with two axes. So far, I have shown you how to customize and add multiple axes. Next, I will show you how to customize ranges. For a clearer demo, I'll comment out the second axis directive tag. I add the ranges directive tag, which can contain n number of range directive definitions. I add a single range directive with the basic properties, start and end values. To learn how to add ranges, refer to the React Linear Gauge Getting Started video linked in the description below. The linear gauge is now rendered with the defined range. The range is also rendered with an equal width. To display it with different widths along the axis, we use the start width and end width properties. I set start width to 5 pixels and end width to 10 pixels. I change the range color to blue using the color property. To show the labels in the same color as the range color, I set the use range color property to true inside the label style property. See now, the width and color of the range are customized. Next, I am going to show you how to add multiple ranges. First, I add one more range directive tag. I specify its start, end, and color values. Looking at the component now, it renders with 2 ranges. Now let's customize the pointers. To demonstrate the pointers clearly, I remove one of the range directive tags. The default pointer value is 0. To change this, I need to use the value property. I add the pointers directive tag, which can contain n number of pointer directive definitions. And I add the pointer directive tag. Within it, I set the value property to 40. I'm going to change the shape of the marker pointer from the default inverted triangle to a circle. To achieve that, I set the marker type property to circle. And then I set the height and width properties to 15. And the color to inappropriate value. To change the position of the pointer, I set the position property to cross. Now the shape, color, and position of the marker has changed. The linear gauge supports 2 types of pointers, bar and marker. The default type is marker. Finally, I will show you how to add multiple pointers. I add one more pointer directive tag. I set the value property to 30 and the type to bar. I specify the color and set 1000 to the animation duration property. You can see multiple pointers are now rendered. In this video, I have shown you how to customize the axes, labels, ranges, and markers of a linear gauge. If you would like to try out the example used in this video, you can download it from the GitHub link in the description below. I have also shared a link where you can learn about obtaining a free license key to use our React suite through our community license if you are eligible. Thank you for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel.